Welcome to this training on the Learning Hub. This video is designed for users that are going to be accessing the Learning Hub via a laptop or a desktop computer. If you're going to be completing your work through a smart device, then please watch the alternative video that has been provided in your email. You'll need to log into the system through accessing the link that's been provided and entering in your username and your password. You can click here to remember yourself, so the next time you log in it will automatically remember you, and if you lose your password you can click on lost your password, or you can click on the mailbox support LMS. Once you've logged in, you'll see a black toolbar at the top of the screen which will introduce and welcome you to the Learning Hub. The first thing you need to do is go and change your password. So at the top of this black toolbar you need to go to your dashboard, which looks like a clock icon. Once in the back end of the system, you need to look for the profile, which is an image of a person. Click on this image and it will allow you to update your personal options. You can see that you can change your colour scheme, which is just relevant to the back end of the system only. If there is an issue with your first or last name being spelled incorrectly, you can amend it on here yourself, and the same with your email. We're going to scroll down to the account management, and where it says new password, you're going to set new password. The system will automatically generate you a strong password. If that's not memorable to you, you can overtype it. If you put in a weak password, then the system will automatically tell you that it's very weak, and it won't allow you to update your profile until you've confirmed the use of a weak password. We don't recommend you do that. We do recommend that you enter a strong password. When you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen, the system will then allow you to update your profile. If you've entered in a weak password and you haven't clicked in that box to say that you accept it's a weak password, the back end of the system won't allow you to update the profile. It will stay kind of greyed out. Once you've done that, you're now free to go back to your front end of your page, so you can visit the site, and then you can start to work your way through the different learning tabs here. So we have a My Learning, we have a Learner Support, Technical Support and Login, Log Out. The My Learning is where all your resources are. Before we touch on this, I just want to quickly go over the Learner Support, Technical Support tabs. The Learner Support tab is where you're going to find all the additional support information. For example, if you want to access BKSB for your functional skills, you can do so by clicking on the Functional Skills tab. It will bring the logo, and you just need to enter in your username and password that you would have been provided by your skills coach. The same with your Cognosist. This is the system that we use to identify any additional learner support you may need. Once you've got your login details, again, you can access Cognosist through the Learning Hub. Just click on here and it will take you through. You do need your username and password. We have a frequently asked questions tab. Once you click on there, there's quite a lot of useful information. It also includes information on the NUS Apprentice Extra card, which gives you discounts off high street retail agents. And if you click on that, it will give you the step-by-step instruction on how to apply for that. We also have a safeguarding tab here, or section, that gives lots of information about the aims and priorities of GP strategies and making sure that you're safe and that your health and well-being is one of our main priorities. So I suggest you read through some of the policies and guidance we've got on there. We've also got a link to some of the external providers that we use. If you're completing your care certificate through Grey Matters, for example, if you scroll down on the external providers, you can access the Grey Matters group by clicking on here, and again you will need your username and password that has been provided upon enrolment. eTrack here, if you click on here, this will allow you to enter the eTrack system. You need your username and password again, but then you can upload your evidence to the ePortfolio system. We have a plagiarism checker. That's where you can check to make sure that the work that you've entered isn't duplicated from the internet. You can upload it in a paragraph format, or you can upload a whole document. So take some time to go through each of the different learner support sections. The technical support, there's a couple of video tutorials. This video tutorial is on here. If you decide to complete the work remotely through a smart device, you might see when you log on through your phone or through a tablet that the layout looks slightly different. So it might be worthwhile clicking on that video just so it can prompt you where to go and get the information if it's not clear. So I'm going to go to My Learning. Like I said, that's the main tab that you're going to be using throughout your apprenticeship journey, and that's where you are going to get your resources. Now, the first thing you'll see is that I've got a table on this screen, and this table shows me all the different workbooks and quizzes that I've completed. It also shows me the date that I attempted it, and I'm able to download my responses, so to my responses to the quiz questions or the workbooks in an Excel format. And this is what your skills coaches will be using as part of the evidence to inform your knowledge, and they will be carrying out professional discussion using your answers to your workbooks. So the more you complete, the more you'll have. If you have to retake a workbook because your answers aren't developed enough, then you'll see that it will appear more than once. So for example, you can see that I've taken this particular workbook twice. When you submit a workbook, just so you know, you'll automatically be scored 100% because all that's telling you is that you submitted it. It doesn't mean it's being graded at 100% or marked at 100%, and it is going to be marked by your skills coach, and your grade will be informed of you. The 100% just basically means you've submitted it. When I scroll down, I have my courses that I'm enrolled on. So you're going to be enrolled on a care program, whether it be adult care or lead adult care, and you'll also have the induction program. So I'm going to click on the induction program because you should be completing this first. And you'll see that we've got some different sections in the induction program that you need to work your way through. We have one which is on COVID, and if I click on the COVID section, it gives me information about reporting, it gives me government guidance, and it also gives me some videos which will be relevant to your work setting. And there is some free online COVID courses. Now, if you have carried any COVID courses out in your work setting already, then you should present that as evidence to your skills coach. You don't need to repeat evidence. You don't need to do additional work if it's something that you've already covered in the work setting. In this section here, induction checklist and appeals, we do have an appeals handbook. If you believe that one of the, if you've been marked, assessed, and you don't believe that it hasn't achieved, then you can appeal, and we do have an appeal process. You just need to follow the guidance within the Learner Induction and Appeals Handbook. There are a number of e-learning modules that you'll need to carry out. Click on the e-learning modules section, scroll down, and you'll need to carry out the equality and diversity e-learning, and then we have other e-learning courses on here. Some of them will provide you with a certificate, some of them are just to develop your knowledge and to make sure you're aware of some of the, perhaps it might be a health and safety or safeguarding concern. There is also a safeguarding mental health and well-being section, and again you need to click on there and work through the content, and again the preventing extremism and radicalisation. The first thing you need to start off with, if you haven't already completed this, and you may have done so when you were signed up, you may have been given this information. This is the induction assignment, and you'll need to complete the assignment that is relevant to the level that you're studying at. So if you're on adult care, you'll need to complete the level 2, and if you're on the lead adult care, you'll need to complete the level 3. There is a presentation for you to review, and then there is also a skills audit, and we have the actual assignment. And at the bottom here, there is a quiz that you should complete on the induction. As you're working your way through the sections and you complete them, you can tick to say you've completed it. I'll just show you. You mark that you've completed it. And when you go back to your section, just update that actually because I went back, you'll see that it's now ticked. So you're going to be working through your induction program. Your skills coach will be directing you what needs to be completed by when. There is a timeline. Some of the information within the induction program will be ongoing and you may not complete it until midway or 3/4 of the way through your apprenticeship program, but there are certain tasks in here that your skills coach will be explaining to you need to be completed by a certain time. So start off with the induction assignment if you haven't already done. And we've also the equality and diversity training in the e-learning module is another one that you should also complete very quickly or as a priority. So once you've worked your way through that, if you go back to your My Learning, you now need to access your resources. So we're going to scroll down. You can see that I've now done my induction quiz and that's there, and my skills coach will be extracting that information and using it as part of my evidence for my e-portfolio. And I'm going to go to my resources now on my adult care. So I'm going to click on see more, and you will see I've got a number of things. There is a delivery model here that I can download and review, and that basically gives me a month-by-month guidance on what needs to be completed and by when. And this will make sure that I know that I'm on track to complete my apprenticeship within the agreed time scale. Then we've got 3 sections. We've got our textbooks and workbooks, we have our optional units, and we have our endpoint assessment practice test. We're going to start off with our standards textbooks and workbooks. You can access this by either clicking on expand, or you can click on the standards textbooks and workbooks. The content is the same. By clicking on the second way, how I have just done, all it does is it just gives me a bit more of guidance. So it tells me that I need to read the textbook for each standard, and then I must complete the quiz and the workbook. You can access the quiz and the workbook by clicking on these sections here. You can access your quizzes and your workbooks and the textbooks via a smart device, and you can also complete them on there. You need to make sure that when you do come to complete these workbooks that you answer them fully and in complete detail. If you don't, then you will probably be asked to retake them because the content won't be developed enough and you need to demonstrate your knowledge. When you're working through your standard workbooks, you can also save and resume at a later time if you need to go and do something. And I'll be demonstrating that to you now. First thing I'm going to do is show you the standard textbooks and workbooks. So I'm going to click on here. And these are going to be the resources that I need to learn about the different standards within my apprenticeship. So standard A is about job roles and responsibilities. I click on here and I can make it bigger if I want to, and I can just scroll down. And I'm just going to be reading through this workbook, and it's really important that I take my time not to rush through it, because I need to get my knowledge. I need to really develop my knowledge. It's so important because I need to demonstrate my knowledge in both my workbook but also when I get to endpoint assessment. So it's very, very important that I'm taking in what I'm learning. So I read that textbook. Once I've read that textbook and I feel that my knowledge is sufficient, I'm going to go back and I'm going to take the quiz, which is a short quiz, and I need to pass it at 80%. So I'll just start the quiz and I work my way through. There's approximately 10 to 15 questions on each quiz. This system will automatically grade you, and if you successfully pass, you'll be awarded a certificate that will also be used as part of the knowledge evidence for your e-track, your e-portfolio. Once you've completed the quiz, so that will go pink, you then need to complete your workbook. So I will click on my workbook and you'll see here that it says resume quiz. That's because I've already started it. But you need to now demonstrate your knowledge in the standard of job roles, tasks and responsibilities. You need to make sure that you answer these questions fully and in complete detail. There is no point rushing this because you're only going to have to either redo the question, which is going to take you even more time. So it's best that you take your time to complete them fully rather than having to come back away and do it again. So I'm going to resume my quiz. I mean, my answers are just test answers. So you can see that it's rejoined me at 1.3 and I've already answered 1.1 and I just save and next it, 1.2, 1.3. There might be a couple, when you're going through and you're reading the questions, so you've got a 1.3 there's another 1.3, but they're two different questions, but some of the knowledge elements are broken down into 3 or 4 questions, so you might have a 1.3 3 or 4 times, but they're different questions, so don't get yourself confused. Obviously, when you're going back to, you can review what you've written, you can also amend and update it. So I'm going to save that, and you can see here I'm now 1.4, so the limit, so I need to type it. Okay, if I have to now go away because I've been on my work break or I'm a bit busy now and I can't continue with my studies, I'm just going to save and next it. I need to make sure I save and next it, otherwise the next time I come in it won't have actually saved it. But as long as you save and next it, you can pause, go away from your studies and come back and log in. Even if you logged in on a smart device, it would pick up what you've done on your desktop or your laptop. So I'm just going to show you now how that looks. So I've come back out of it and I'm going to go back in it. And you can see it says resume the quiz there, and it taken me to 1.5, and that was the last question that I answered is 1.4, which is great. Sometimes it will resume at 1.1, although I might have answered up to 1.8, but the responses will be in there as well, so don't panic. So you'll work your way through each of the questions, then when you get to the end, it will tell you obviously to submit it. Your skills coach will then, you'll get your notification, because when you go to your table up the top here, you'll know you've submitted it because it will show on there. It will say 100%, but it just means that you've submitted it. Your skills coach will then be extracting that workbook in their Excel spreadsheet, and they will then be reviewing your responses. That workbook is then used to inform a professional discussion on that standard. And if the skills coach identifies any areas for knowledge development, then you will be asked to go away, go back to the learning hub, perhaps read the workbook, the textbooks again, and then you may be asked to complete the questions on the workbook again, and then you might have to have a further professional discussion. So it is really important that you do this right. So as you're working through your resources, you will basically just work your way through them. So I'm just going to expand here. I'm going to go through it this way this time. So I would have done my quiz and that would be pinked out. My workbook will also go pink, so I can keep on track of what I've done, and then I'll go and look at my next one, which is values behaviours. So I'll go to my textbooks and I will find B now. Oh, I didn't click on that, did I not? And I would get my textbook up and I'll just work my way through that. get my knowledge, and then when I feel that I'm confident in that standard, I will then go and answer my quiz for standard B. So I would complete that, and then I would complete my workbook. So it just goes in alphabetical order. Then the next one will be the communication. So I'd find my communication textbook, complete my quiz and my standards workbook. So I'm working my way through all my standards A to F. And there is also a behaviours one. Now the behaviours you'll need to demonstrate in the workplace, and your skills coach will be gathering the evidence all the way through your apprenticeship, but it also gives you a bit of information about what we mean by behaviours. Once you've completed all your standards to the acceptable standard and you've had your professional discussions, you'll also be working on some optional units. Now the Learning Hub doesn't currently have all optional units that are available to you. When you expand all on here, you can see the ones that are available. If they're not on here, it's in the same format. You've got a quiz and then you've got a workbook here for you to complete. You've also got some resources in that section there in the form of the PowerPoint session, so you can read it. If the resources aren't on there, then your skills coach will be giving you the additional resources in a separate communication method. Once you've done all your elements, then you'll be at the point where you come to your endpoint assessment gateway. There is an endpoint assessment practice test on here that you can carry out, and you can take it as many times as you want. You should be using the textbooks to help you, to inform your knowledge, to help prepare you for the endpoint assessment. And that's it. That's all you need to do. So first thing you need to do then is go to the standards textbooks and workbooks. You can either expand all, click on your textbooks and start to work your way through completing the quiz and the workbooks. Thank you for listening.